I straight up cannot believe how much I like this phone. iPhone and Samsung fanboys, you guys have to check it out. In this review, we're gonna talk about why this is such a gaming beast and some of the amazing unique features that it offers, along with the downsides and who should actually pick one of these up. Now, when Poco reached out and they wanted to sponsor us and send out one of these phones, I wanted to check it out, but I wasn't expecting a ton. But as soon as I took this thing out of the box, I was shocked. First off, they offer so much in the box. Not only do we get a case, a USB-C to a headphone adapter, but a 120 watt power brick with the extra long angled USB Type-C cable. Now, before I dive in, I have to say that this phone with over a 4700 milliamp hour battery charges from 0 to 100 in 17 minutes. So each one of the batteries that are split up inside takes 60 watts, and you can literally see the percentage rising as it is charging. I just wish this animation stayed on screen longer. It is crazy. Not only that, but it actually didn't get that hot thanks to its insane cooling system that is designed for gaming. And when you're actually gaming and charging with that 90-degree cable that stays out of your way, you can actually go from 2% to 100 in 27 minutes. And this feature right here absolutely blew my mind. Take a look at that, these pop-up triggers. I was expecting them to be a little bit janky, but man, they are awesome. Now we'll talk about gaming in just a bit, but first let's talk about the design and the build quality. I was expecting all of this just to be kind of cheap because of that price point of 599 euros, so just over 600 bucks for the base model. But it isn't. We have all aluminum, we have Gorilla Glass Victus on the front and the back, this super cool looking gamery design with this little lightning that actually is a flash, which is a cool touch. Now with the whole camera module, we also have RGB lighting built in, which you can use for notifications, texts, and other things. And then on the sides, we have our USB Type-C port along with this very interesting looking speaker grill. Now, if we go to the other side, not only do we have the earpiece speaker cutout, we also have that same speaker grill because this thing has quad speakers. But we also have triple mics that are also positioned in a way where that if you're gaming, it will still pick you up. We have one on the bottom right here next to that volume rocker. So those speakers, the quads, are raised higher, so they're also not blocked like you get with other phones. And on top of that, the Wi-Fi and antennas are actually right here on the side, so when you're gaming, you get the best signal. And of course, if you're using your phone with one hand, it's also not blocked. So much thought went into the design, but as far as build quality, everything feels top-notch, including the buttons, the switches, and what really got me was the vibration motor. Typically on cheap devices, even more expensive, cheaper ones, they put really sucky ones in. This felt really good, and then I saw on their website they were actually advertising that it's the largest one in an Android phone, and that's a little detail that really makes it pleasant to use. Now on the right hand side, between those triggers that lock up, we have our power button. That is also a fingerprint scanner. Now, most of the time when you're using it, it is so quick that as soon as you press it, you're just logged in because it scans your finger so fast. So far, none of this is acting like a budget phone. Now, inside for the base model, we have 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage that can also jump up to 12 and 256. Now, those are good specs, and as far as the chip, we have the best of the best, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which not only got a performance upgrade for our CPU compared to the past, but the biggest jump was actually the graphics, and that is where it gets close to Apple's A15. Now, as far as the display, I was also expecting to be let down because there was no rating as far as the brightness. Now, this is 1080p plus. It's a 1920 by 2400 display. It is an OLED display, but I was expecting the brightness to be limited. When I raised up the brightness, though, I was pleasantly surprised that it was close to the brightness of Apple's flagship iPhone. Now, when you're outdoors, it actually works pretty well, and inside, they don't limit the brightness that you can manually kind of reach. It actually worked really well. As long as you have the auto toggle enabled, you can scroll the brightness. And so overall, I was pretty happy with that. Now, before I go into HDR video in some more details, let's just jump into those speakers once again. We see that they're offset here, and there's 2 tweeters and 2 woofers built in. Now, this was another area where I thought I was gonna be kind of disappointed, not because there's 4 of them, but just because it's a budget device. And we just heard that Sony, they cost $1,600, and it did not sound good at all. Well, I was quite impressed. Not only was it louder than my iPhone, but it actually had a nice natural sound where vocals sounded nice and clear and not tinny at all. And along with that, it had pretty good bass, much better than that Sony Xperia 1 IV. Now, my iPhone does go deeper with bass, even though it just has 2 speakers, so Apple's definitely ahead in that, but this thing really surprised me and destroyed that Sony. Now, another area I was really surprised by was the UI. Now, it's not a pixel UI, you don't have the gestures from the bottom, but the command center, or whatever you call it when you pull back, you have the brightness right there automatically. You have everything you need easily accessible. So overall, just going through everything is so snappy with that 120 hertz screen, and I didn't feel annoyed by it like I do with some other Android software. Now, for those of you guys who watch a lot of videos, especially those that watch HDR movies, it actually looks really good, really natural. It does get bright about 800 nits, but it doesn't have the super pop in the highlights like you would get from an S22 Ultra for $1,200. And now let's talk about gaming, what this phone was actually designed to do, and it did an incredible job. I have to say, after using these triggers and setting them up easily, you have the little pop-up menu, you move them where you want them, and getting used to doing the actions that I do most in Call of Duty, which is shooting and reloading, I don't know how I'm gonna go back to using an iPhone. It just makes it so efficient to not have to pick your fingers up and adjust for those tasks that you're doing all the time. And not only that, but this screen actually has a 480 hertz refresh sensitivity for touch. So it's way more sensitive, as way more zones as well. So when I was playing, it was just awesome to be able to have those triggers. It's a whole nother experience, just like you'd have with a gaming controller. So they weren't janky, they weren't bad feeling, it wasn't gimmicky. It is legitimately really, really nice to have. Now with that, I had all my settings maxed out, I had my brightness maxed out, and I had no dimming whatsoever. Even when I plugged in the phone to start charging as I was gaming, the phone did not dim. Now this thing has, like I said, a crazy cooling system built in, multiple layers, a huge surface area with multiple materials. The phone didn't get hot and the screen didn't dim down. It was awesome. Not only in Call of Duty, which is my favorite game, but even Genshin Impact with the settings maxed out, we did not have any issues. And with the iPhone, even though the performance is higher because of that processor, the A15, you do get quite a bit of dimming with that phone. So if you're somebody that plays a lot of games, this experience, I just don't know how you can beat it. Even if you spend a lot more money, it is top notch. Now let's talk about the camera system. The main camera is a 64 megapixel. It's a nice high-end sensor from Sony. And then you also have an ultra wide and a macro camera. And then on the front, we have an upgraded front-facing camera as well. Now this is where this phone starts going towards a mid-range phone from a flagship. So many of the other things like the design, the performance, the display is either flagship level or very high end. The speakers, the charging, all of that is great. But the cameras, the main sensor will give you some pretty good results. And they are using Google Camera for the actual software to take your images. So that part of it is great. But if you take a lot of ultra-wide photos or if you take a lot of selfies, this is where it's not fantastic. And of course, it does not have a portrait camera, no telephoto like you would get on a Pro iPhone or a high-end Samsung phone. But if having the best cameras is important to you, this is where this phone will not match up like it does in all the other areas. Now, what are the other downsides? Well, first off, there is no micro SD card slot. It's not a huge deal for me because so many of the companies went away from it. Obviously, Apple does not give that to you in their phones. And second, what matters more to me is the wireless charging. There is no wireless charging built in. So if you use that a lot, that is a downside. Now, with the wired charging being as fast as it is, you kind of don't need it, but it still is a convenience feature that you will get with higher end flagships. So overall, with everything this phone is offering, I was really surprised how well-rounded it is with the display, the speakers, the UI being so good, and then of course, the gaming aspect of it. I think for the money, it is an absolutely killer value, and this is gonna be my gaming phone now. When I wanna game on my smartphone, my iPhone's gonna be chilling, and I will be using this just because of how dang good it is, especially with the no overheating and with those triggers. So there you guys go. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Check out the links in the video description. This has been Max, and I will see you guys in the next video.